so much. And I'm just going to start by, first of all, actually summarizing that what kind of organization ICRC is and what kind of work it is doing. And then after that, towards the end, I am going to quickly give you an overview of my own personal opinion. So without any further ado, I would like to say that ICRC is basically an international organization. It was established in 1863, so it's a very old organization. Its exclusively humanitarian mission is to protect the lives and dignity of victims of armed conflict and other situation of violence. Having said that, in front of you is the mandate of that organization. So it is an international organization which is independent, neutral, and impartial. Towards the end, I will reflect briefly that when we say independent, neutral, and impartial, that comes with a lot of responsibilities. And how much organizations are upholding those principles is something that is questionable. But with this ICRC being the independent and neutral organization, it also promotes international humanitarian law. It tries to strengthen it and ensure respect for it. The other thing is that what does actually IHL, international humanitarian law, mean? Basically, this is the law, most but this is the law of war and law of armed conflict. So even in of war, there are certain rules, such as not to attack civilians or civilian infrastructure, includes hospitals and schools and places of worship. But we do see that there are a lot of violations of IHL that are occurring in today's world. Then we have the 7 fundamental principles for the ICRC, which includes humanity, impartiality, neutrality, independence, voluntary service, unity, and universality. ICRC firmly upholds these principles and bases support on them. Now that we have briefly touched on that, what kind of organization ICRC, glance through few of the department it operates in. Its work is not limited to these alone, but given the time constraint, I would just like to skim through them. We have already spoken about IHL, that it's the International Humanitarian. Such ICRC is working closely with policy parliamentarians, judiciary, and civil society to promote and to strengthen it and to ensure that, like, even in war, there are rules that must be followed. Women, children are not to be targeted. They are not the target. And even the men who are not carrying weapons and who are not participating in the war are not the target. But we see a lot of violations of IHL, and ICRC is working with the, it's trying to um, advocate for that, why it should be, the IHL should be integrated in the domestic laws. Moving forward, we have the healthcare intervention. So we know that whenever there are wars or humanitarian crises, health emergencies do occur. And as such, ICRC provides healthcare to the victims. It also offers, it tries to build capacity, for example, in weapon wounded war surgery, mass casualty response, in addition to providing medicines, consumable infrastructure support. It attends to of women and children because ICRC and all the other humanitarian organizations are accountable to affected population that necessitates the most vulnerable and the most susceptible. But how much are they successful is really complicated in the current dynamics that we are living in this world. We physical rehabilitation programs. So in times of conflicts and wars, we are all aware that losing limbs and being disabled is a big possibility. And IRC tries to provide access to the artificial limbs, physiotherapy, supportive devices. Along with that, it also tries to promote microeconomic initiatives and vocational trainings and capacity building. Then we have other programs. I'll just try to be as quick as possible. That other programs include risk awareness and safer behavior. So we know that sometimes the unexploded ordnance and the remnants of war do not explode instantly, and later on, they causing life-threatening injuries and even deaths. And women and children are really susceptible. For example, in remote as where women are working on the farms or tending livestock, or children who are in the fields can be targeted even if the conflict is over. The consequences are devastating and grave. And then we have restoring family links, through which this organization ICRC aims to being separated because of humanitarian crisis and emergencies. And the end, we have sexual violence. Unfortunately, sexual violence remains prevalent and widespread in many armed conflicts around the world, with grave and devastating consequences for victims, especially women and children. And children, those in boys both. While it is not inevitable consequence, impunity that, like we see in today's world, has increased the risk of much more. And then there's the problem of underreporting, stigma and shame associated with it. So ICRC tries to address this in a multidisciplinary and holistic manner by keeping the victims at the center of it, by providing medical care or mental health support or economic health or community protection. It is also pertinent and imperative to mention that prohibited under the international humanitarian law, and ICRC mandates is mandated to promote it, but it still is one of the grave realities of the world that we live. We have access to education and economic security, very self-explanatory, and mental health and psychosocial support. You this very brief overview of the organization, because there's much more thought and work that goes into it.